And tonight we're going to be looking at our severe weather risk across parts of the Northwest, and we'll be looking at our severe weather risk for the next few days, and we'll take a little bit of a look, or a quick look, at the tropics and to see if there's anything we need to look out for. But mainly this video will be about weather. So let's go ahead and get started with tonight's day one convective outlook. So this is the 01Z update, and we do have a slight risk up here into parts of Montana and then into northeast, central to eastern Montana, with a marginal risk all the way into a part of northwestern North Dakota. And then looking down to the south, we do have a marginal risk into southeastern Colorado, and we do not have a tornado risk with our risk today. We do have a wind risk, and that is a 15% risk in that area where that slight risk is into Montana there. And then around that is a 5% into central and parts of northeastern Montana, and then into northwestern North Dakota, and then into southeastern Colorado. We do have a 5% risk there. And then looking at our hail risk today, we do have a 5% up here into Montana again, and then into northwestern North Dakota, and a 5% down here into southeastern Colorado. Now looking at Montana and northwestern North Dakota, and we'll be looking at just the HRRR for our look here, and we'll be looking at the 23Z run, and we may use the 0Z in just a second, but it's only at 22% fully out, so, or 22% of the way into the run. So it'll be a little bit before we get that full run. So we'll just use the 23Z for right now. But looking right now, we do have a couple of storms showing up into Montana, and just a few isolated storms into southeastern Montana. Mainly just some showers, but some stronger storms and maybe severe storms in some spots. And our storms in Montana don't really get I would say to their peak until about an hour or two from now, when I am recording this. So I don't think we'll have any widespread storms, but you will have to watch this little bit of a line kind of showing up here that moves into parts of northeastern Montana, and a few sporadic showers and storms down here as well. And then really that line moves later into the night into northwestern North Dakota, and kind of weakens quite a bit, and then gets to the Montana Canada border there. And by the time, really by very late tonight into early tomorrow, that line has really gone away, and you really don't have any strong storms remaining. But that line will be the biggest thing to watch for that hail and wind risk tonight, and really you'll have to be watching this until late tonight, and then into early tomorrow on Wednesday. Looking at the supercell composite parameter for tonight, you have kind of some higher values into parts of eastern Montana, and then even into northwestern and western North Dakota there, values around 3 and 4, and then into Montana maybe 5 in some spots. We'll do a sounding on the RAP model real quick. Even on the 21Z RAP model, you do have a larger spike there into North Dakota, and we'll take a sounding. Let's see, we'll do one right here around this 3 supercell composite parameter, and we'll let that load. And you don't have really moist low levels, a dew point of only 56, and that is sufficient for storms, but it's not a lot. And as you can see right here, you don't have a lot of instability. It does show those lapse rates kind of making up for that instability there, and that would definitely help with that that wind risk as you have those stronger lapse rates in those areas. And then a temperature of 87, that definitely does kind of help with the storms being a little warmer there. And there's a little bit of a warm nose here, so kind of a cap maybe showing up with some of these storms, but I think that cap may limit some of the more isolated storms, and you'll only have that that more defined band that moves into Montana, and into later on we'll move into northwestern North Dakota. Now looking at our day 2 outlook on Wednesday, August the 21st, we do have a slight risk here into parts of northeastern Montana again, and into western North Dakota. Around that is a larger marginal risk all the way from the Canada-Montana border and the North Dakota Canada border down to the south, all the way into northwestern Kansas and eastern Colorado, into parts of western Nebraska, and into a small area in northeastern Wyoming, and then into central and much of western South Dakota. And so we don't have a tornado risk with this, but we do have a wind risk with this. And we do have a 15% wind risk with this, and a 5% surrounding that into the areas where that marginal risk is, and that 15 where that slight is. And our hail risk is just kind of not extended. It is stretched a little bit farther north, and really in the same exact areas as that slight risk and marginal risk is, but we do have that 5% risk there and a 15% risk right there. So we'll look at the RAP model first, the 21Z RAP, and then we'll look at the 0ZHRRR in just a second. It is still loading, and so it really won't show too far out, but we may look at the 18ZHRRR. But we'll have our storm risk tonight, and that'll extend into a period tomorrow morning a little bit, showing up on the 21Z RAP with our supercell composite. And then we'll have our severe weather risk tomorrow, and then you can see here that supercell composite parameter does spike up quite a bit, and you do have values reaching 5, 6, 7, 8 in some spots into South Dakota, North Dakota, same there, 6, 7, 8 in places there. And then it really spikes as you get into later tomorrow evening into tomorrow night on Wednesday, and that risk there but is a kind of a prolonged period of that severe weather risk, really from tomorrow evening all the way until late tomorrow night, into maybe sometime on Thursday. So we'll have to watch that for sure. And real quick, we'll look at the HRRR here, and we'll look at the 0Z and see how far it goes into the run. And it goes right to where, really right before the storms start forming there. So we'll use the 18Z for right now. And so it doesn't have any storms really forming until about maybe the early evening hours to mid evening hours. And then you do have some widespread development, especially across parts of South Dakota, and even into North Dakota there. And we'll look farther to the south with our marginal risk in just a second. But as you can see right here, many storms showing up there across North Dakota, South Dakota, spots and places in Montana, as well as Wyoming, and then even into Nebraska there as you get into later tomorrow evening into tomorrow night, and especially later tomorrow night. Definitely some strong to severe storms showing up in South Dakota there. And then we'll look here at our northern Great Plains sector, and as you can see, maybe some sort of kind of like an MCS that tries to form there tomorrow evening and into tomorrow night, and then even across parts of northeastern Montana there and North Dakota, you do have some storms lingering. And then I'm not sure what it tries to show here, but that'll be kind of towards our that'll be with our day 3 risk, and we'll talk about that in just a second. But definitely some widespread development of storms and some stronger to severe storms, especially across Montana, Wyoming, North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska, and we'll look down farther south into the central Great Plains, and we'll go back in time into about tomorrow afternoon. And as you can see, we have quite a few storms beginning to develop across Colorado, Wyoming, Montana, South Dakota, Nebraska. And then you have some widespread development to begin with, and they start to get more isolated. Not isolated, but they start to merge and kind of get more organized. And especially into South Dakota, I would watch some of these storms here for that wind risk and hail risk, especially even into Nebraska there as you go farther into the night. And then by later tomorrow night, those storms begin to weaken, and really by late tomorrow night into early on Thursday, most of those storms will have moved out or weakened out of some of these areas in the Great Plains and into spots of the northern Great Plains. And then looking at our supercell composite parameter for areas in the central Great Plains, we'll have our parameter really get to its peak, it looks like, into spots in Nebraska and Kansas tomorrow evening into tomorrow night. And then you have another spike, and we'll talk about that in just a second, for Thursday's risk. But we'll take a sounding. We'll do one in Nebraska, and we'll do it tomorrow evening into tomorrow night. We'll do a one for kind of tomorrow night into, we'll go to Nebraska, and we'll go right about here. Then we'll do one in Kansas and look at that. So we'll look at this real quick and just see. So it does show a little bit of actually pretty decent cap there. As you can see, that warm nose a little bit where the temperature goes to the right, and it gets warmer a little bit as you go higher into the atmosphere, and then obviously goes to the left and cools down. But you do have plenty of instability in these areas, and your low level lapse rate is not the best, but it'll definitely be sufficient for storms. Your mid and upper level lapse rates are definitely sufficient for storm development. And as you can see here, our dew point of 67 is definitely plenty moist for those storms to form in those areas. Now we'll do one in Kansas real quick. We'll do southwestern Kansas, and we'll see how this sounding looks. And still, you do have instability in these areas. That low level lapse rate not as high as the other sounding, but still you do have plenty of instability. And then also, I didn't really look at these on the other sounding, but you do have definitely some sufficient mid-level and upper-level winds, and your low-level jet isn't very strong, but it is there. And we have a 14 knot surface to 1 kilometer 1 kilometer wind right there, and so it will be enough to get these storms a little more organized, especially with the mid-level and upper-level winds helping to increase that hail threat a little bit as you go into tomorrow evening and to tomorrow night. And then lastly, we'll be looking at our day 3 severe weather risk, and that is on Thursday, August the 22nd. And we do have our marginal risk here all the way from the northwestern Minnesota Canada border into the northeastern North Dakota Canada border, all the way down kind of southwest into parts of South Dakota, and then into parts of Nebraska, and then into Kansas and northeastern Colorado there. And then our probabilistic is a 5% right now, so that is equal to a marginal risk at this range. And so we'll be looking at our supercell composite, and then we'll look at our just a quick look at reflectivity on maybe the GFS. But you do have a little bit of a severe weather threat kind of showing up. This is very far. This is at the end of the run, so it won't be really accurate at this range. But we'll look at the NAM real quick. And so we do have a little bit of a severe weather threat, and that supercell composite parameter does go to about 3 there into parts of central South Dakota, and then we'll look to the south a little bit into the central Great Plains, and it doesn't spike too much, but you do have areas into Colorado and then into parts of Kansas that does have a little bit of a threat there. And then you do have a supercell composite parameter of 3 and 5, 4 and 5 in spots of Colorado there. So, and then it does spike a little bit there on the NAM. But we'll be looking at this and see how that plays out for Thursday, and we'll look at it more as it gets closer into the range, and we'll get a better look on it on the short range models. But looking at the National Hurricane Center, we don't have any areas of any areas of development or interest for the next 7 days, and that's definitely a good thing. So that's going to be it for tonight's update. I do appreciate all of y'all watching, and I do appreciate all y'all who do click on my video and or watch to the end. But that'll be it for tonight's update. I know I didn't talk much about the tropics, but there really is nothing to talk about because there really isn't any major signals for right now to watch. So that's just not really. I mean, it is a main topic, the tropics, especially as we get farther into hurricane season. But the severe weather is kind of the more important topic now, since it's happening now and not something to watch out for in the future. But I may have another video up tomorrow, but I doubt it. Maybe I would say probably one Thursday, and probably I'm gonna definitely try to get one out this weekend. But it is a little bit harder for me to make these videos because I have started school again, and it is kind of a lot to make these videos and just worry about any other things school related to. But I will try to keep the videos coming out, maybe like one every couple of days. I would really like to try one almost every day, but I haven't been doing too good with that lately. But really just a more defined schedule would be good, and I know it'd be good for any of y'all who do watch to just be looking out for video. And I really haven't done a forecast video in a while, so I'm gonna try to get back on that, and I would really like to get a schedule going where I get a video out probably at least once a week, really 2 or 3 times, but the ideal schedule would be every day, but that's not really something easy to do. But again, I will try to do better with that and try to be more consistent. But I do appreciate all of y'all watching, And I hope y'all have a great rest of y'all's night or morning whenever y'all are watching.